And we are live. Back to Magic Man in the morning. I'm your host, Magic Man, aka Sean Grice, and I'm with my incomparable guest host, Joe Soro. There's only one Joe Soro in the world. I'm glad to have him on the podcast this morning. And it's game day, ladies and gentlemen. It's game day. I'm always pumped about game day. I wake up when the Lakers are playing and I just get a genuine enthusiasm for the day. I'm positive. And then the game starts, and sometimes the positivity goes out the window, especially this year. But I'm feeling really good about tonight. And we have the Toronto Raptors coming into town, my hometown team. And Joe, the last time the Raptors were on the floor, they basically chucked the game away against the LA Clippers. Decided they would fold up the tent at about halfway through the third quarter when it wasn't happening. And I think they've decided that tonight they're going to try and be the bull in the China shop against us. What are your thoughts on tonight's game?
Well, we spoke a little bit about this yesterday about how we kind of appreciated Fred VanVleet taking one for the team for the awful officiating that's been going on here in 2023. I don't know if that's going to enhance their ability to go the next level. There seems to be something switched off in Toronto, and it's likely around money. Fred wants his money. That usually can be a distraction. Siakam is playing well, still very effective player. The Lakers have something going on right now that I think, should it continue, could be a huge motivating factor for all parties in terms of the Lakers. Right now, if the Lakers come out of this weekend with 2 wins, meaning they beat Toronto today and let's say New York on Sunday. It's just New York. I didn't get a chance to see the final score yesterday against the Knicks. Did they lose or did they win? Because I hit the pillow earlier last night. But they haven't been playing as well this last few games, and I'm expecting that the Lakers should have a good chance here to win tonight and win on Sunday. And should that happen, things could get very, very interesting at that point. We did lose Mo. Yeah, we did lose
Yeah,
Mo. We did lose Mo Bamba for practically the whole year. I think we've stated that we're likely out the year with LeBron. But I have heard that if the Lakers are entrenched in playoff mode and have, let's say, a 6 seed, let's say, I think they're going to let LeBron come back the last 2 or 3 games so he can get kind of ramped up for the playoffs. So that's it. Yeah.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
And
we're
just moving forward, just to answer your question, the Kings defeated the Knicks last night, 122-117.
yes, and losing to the Kings is nothing to be ashamed of. I guess this year, they are now tied. No, actually, they have the tiebreaker against Memphis, so they're sitting in the second spot. That is an interesting. That is an interesting top 3.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I
Nobody had that on their dance card this year.
and now that Durant is out for 2 to 3 weeks, which is pretty much the rest of the year. Man, this thing is getting more and more interesting.
It jackknifed the whole shuffle of the conference now. That
Yes,
one injury, it's
yes.
completely jackknifed everything.
So
I think they've won enough games where I think they'll maintain at least I think a top 5 seed. I don't think they'd even slip to the 6, given their depth and their prowess. But yeah, Joe, you never know. I mean, if Aiton goes down at any point for like a week or two, you could be looking at a big slide. Like so, there's no margin for error for them either. And now we find ourselves only 1.5 games out of the fifth seed. So here's the deal. Here's what's really important about this weekend for Lakers fans to keep in mind. So the Knicks lost last night in Sacramento. Now, normally when East Coast teams come out west, Normally, it's not one team. Normally, it's two or three teams that are cycling through the different teams on the coast, right? Usually, that's how it works, going west to east as well. So the Raptors, instead of playing a back to back against the LA teams, they ended up getting a day off in between Denver, the Clippers, and the Lakers. The Knicks aren't so lucky. The Knicks had to play the Kings last night. They're in LA tomorrow. They play the Clippers at 4 p.m. And then it's a back to back for them because they get the Lakers Sunday night. So this weekend is really important, Joe, because you're right. D'Lo's coming back today. I think that's a real shot in the arm, especially for us offensively. If we can win tonight, I think if you don't take the Knicks lightly on Sunday because they're coming in pretty tired, those legs are going to be a little jelly like after 3 out of 4. If you can win that game on Sunday, then all of a sudden you're back to 500. And we're cooking with peanut oil a little bit because then we slide into a tie, I think, with the sixth if things go right. So I talked about 2-0 last week, and it didn't happen. They got to go 2-0 this weekend.
It's not very realistic that they're going to run the table here. So we know that they're going to lose somewhere. I just think that looking at the schedule, they shouldn't lose at home against Toronto the way they've been playing, and they shouldn't lose to New York with New York kind of struggling a little bit at home as well.
Well, the Raptors really rely on three things usually to win a game. They don't turn the ball over. They're the least turnover prone team in the NBA. But they're not a high scoring team this year. Fred Van Fleet's production it's kind of slipped a little bit, and your Gary Trent has become a little bit of a streaky shooter. He didn't really show up in the first half against the Clippers, and you never. And Chris Boucher is disappointed as well, so you never know what you're going to get out of him night to night. So they really rely on their offensive rebounding, Joe, and second chance points. Uh, they're first in the NBA in second chance opportunities. They average 8 a game. 8. The next leading team is Miami, who averages a little less than 4. So the Raptors really get after it. Really get after it, even if they're struggling offensively. So while the Lakers are, we've been pretty good defensively so far with Vando and AD. They can't let up on the boards, man.
And that's sort of been their problem this year is second chance points. The rebounding isn't there, but AD, when he's on, is quite remarkable in that department. And I was there for the Memphis game. It's a lot. Basketball live is so much better than basketball on TV.
100%.
It's not like football. Baseball definitely better live. It goes faster.
100%. Yes.
But basketball, you can feel especially when you're close to the floor, you could feel the energy a little bit more.
It's palpable, man.
Yeah, and the thing is with Memphis, something that I didn't go into too much detail on the show because I wasn't able to that night, is Memphis plays hard. They were playing good defense. And the fact that the Lakers were able to do what they did with that kind of defense, and they were playing that way all game. Okay, if they had Ja Morant, they win that game. But again, we didn't have D'Lo and LeBron. If we had D'Lo and LeBron with Ja Morant, I think we're probably winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt it was a pretty even matchup, even with AD there. Maybe a little bit more on our advantage, especially with us being home. But those two teams both played very, very stout defense, and it didn't really. I think maybe Memphis ran out of gas a little bit after they took that 7-point lead in the fourth. But after that, before that, it was just balls to the wall. Now, tonight, how do the Lakers focus on what is happening? That's always been the issue. We want we want to think that the Lakers are focused. They understand that they're seeing now the light, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
light is getting brighter, not because they're coming up. It's the fact that Durant now is injured. Now Phoenix becomes a team that's not scary because is this guy going to be healthy for the playoffs? And even if he is, are they going to mesh well in time? No, they're not. Sacramento is a young team. They haven't been in the playoffs in 17 years. So Denver's a good team. They've been playing well. The Lakers sort of have their number when they're healthy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Memphis.
Joker is still prone to those early 2 fouls, and
There is no one in the West at this point that's scary.
no.
No one, right? If you look at the East, Milwaukee has been playing very, very, very well. But the Lakers match up very well against Milwaukee. The Celtics are sort of hitting that wall right now. I think the Sixers there's a very good chance if Celtics don't have a good week, they could end up dropping to the 3 seed. That could be interesting, playing Philly in the second round. I don't know, just so you know, just to kind of figure that out.
I think in order for if like you know the history as well as I do, Joe. If you're a Sixer and you wanna get to the finals and be a champion, you got to go through Boston. Like you got to go through Boston and you got to beat them. And they've had Embiid's number, so I think you're right. If somehow Philly ended up with home court advantage in that situation, that might turn the tide a little bit. A little bit.
I expected the Celtics to, based off history and what went on with Ime Udoka, to slant down a little bit, but they didn't. They came out of the gates fire and brimstone and surprised everyone, at least surprised me at how well they played. But this is actually the Celtic team I was expecting this last few weeks because there's certain things that are missing from this team. There's this inability, and I hate to say this because I really like Jason Tatum, there's this inability not to get that shot. What is that shot? That shot usually is reserved for the greats, and the Celtics don't seem to have it. They have everything else except that shot, and it cost them a title last year. If Tatum has a normal series, there's a very good chance they win that series.
Yes.
And the pressure was on him, and Jaylen Brown isn't the guy that's going to have that shot, and no one else is beyond that, right? So my wish list at this point, because I'm not going to go into title contention mode right now. I got to wait another couple more weeks at the very least. Right now is we got to make sure that we're at least tied or better than the Pelicans, and we got to make sure. And when I say we got to make sure, as in like we're hoping. We can't control this, and we got to hope that the Celtics don't win the title. If the Lakers don't do anything this year in terms of winning a title, which is again that's all that's left, guys. If they lose in the playoffs, it's still not a good season because you got LeBron and AD in there, still playing, right? But really, for me, is not being. Not having the Pelicans doing better than us, not having the Celtics win, and then my thought process, of course, is let's win a title, and that's kind of how the season's going. And what happens after that, I'm sure we'll have a good 3-4 months to talk about that once the season's over. But right now, I would like to see it could get very interesting. Should they keep their focus the next 3 weeks? Because if they beat Toronto tonight and they beat New York and they're at home, so it shouldn't be a surprise if they do, though, right? Their next schedule, their schedule is New Orleans on Tuesday. Yep. Wednesday,
Houston, yeah.
Dallas on Friday, Orlando, Phoenix without Durant, and then Oklahoma City, Chicago. Dude, they got a chance here to make a run, really make a legit run, and maybe even to comfortably get a 6 seed.
So it's breakfast in the morning. Give us a short stack. Like you could pile up like 5, 6, 7 in a row here.
I can't eat a lot of pancakes for some weird reason.
Oh, really?
I can't. No.
Okay.
I
So
don't know if it.
you avoid the lumberjack breakfast.
Yes, I do. I cannot eat more than a couple, 2 or 3
It's filling. It's
pancakes.
filling. The flour is filling in a
Yes,
pancake.
yes. I think I just I don't know what it is about that particular one. It used to be like that with pizza for me. It still sort of is. Like I don't eat more than 3 or 4 pieces of pizza.
Okay.
And
So it's dough then. So would you say the same thing about French toast and waffles?
so waffles I'll eat occasionally. French toast rarely eat it. Uh, what's weird is it's not bread. I don't think it's bread because I love French baguettes. Whenever I can eat them, I don't eat them regularly because I eat them all the time.
Right.
But
They're very delicious.
fresh French baguette, the ones that come in 2 feet long
Yeah,
ones.
yeah,
Those things I seriously, it's like cone heads. Like I can eat them nonstop. Like I don't get full.
they're great with like if you make a hero sandwich or buy one. Oh
Yeah,
my god, there's like that bread is just so crunchy.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So as we're transitioning, we're gonna talk about weird food combos that you've seen in your life, Joe. So name me a time when you were eating at a restaurant where you just saw someone put the like the weirdest condiment on their meal.
What was the weirdest thing I saw?
I saw a guy once dump half a bottle of soy sauce on octopus. That was something to see.
I think I know why. There's something with the soy sauce that makes the octopus move, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna honestly say I might live the probably a boring life. I don't look at I've never seen anything too exotic from people in terms of
Okay.
what they put on their food.
All right. Well,
Uh,
there's a great quote in The Departed, one of my favorite gangster films, where Jack Nicholson is playing Frank Costello based on the character James Whitey Bulger, and he has a sinister look in his face, and he says, "You learn a lot watching things eat." So, that is a true quote. I've seen ketchup put on steak. Uh, that one blows my mind. The greatest quarterback in the world right now likes ketchup on his steak, so that's a little bit of peculiarity. Joe, I've seen people put mayonnaise on baked and mashed potatoes. That combination just does not strike me as a match.
I I would say the one that's still kind of puzzling, even though it's a popular dish, is fried chicken and waffles.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up to you since it's
I've tried it. Don't get the appeal. I'm not a sweet guy too much when it comes to food like that. I'm just not. I prefer to just eat one or the other. So yeah, that one would be the one I would say with my own eyes in terms of live. Like it's never been something that, and I tried it because I grew up with many still chefs in my life in my family, and all the women in our families cooked, and we had a lot of exotic food being from a different country. And
so
uh,
what was your like three favorite dishes growing up that your mom and or dad would
so
make?
there's a dish called kubba where they'd have cream of wheat in a it's kind of like a dumpling where they put
Ooh,
meat and seasoning and stuff in it, and then they put it in a big tub of tomatoes like sauce type
ooh.
thing. And that one was always a special occasion dish because you always wanted to savor the moment. And they would put turnips in it, they put celery in it to kind of you know give it a little other a little different taste as well. Very good dish. Still one of my favorites, if not all, if not favorite, all the way through.
What's a texture like? What's it like on your palate? Try and
I
explain
would
it to me.
say a dumpling is the easiest way
Yeah.
to explain it. It's
Okay.
exactly like a dumpling. So
Okay.
they'll make it in different shapes sometimes. Sometimes it'll look like a disc. Sometimes it'll look like a cone head.
Okay.
So it's a very good dish. If you're ever here, if you just happen to be in Arizona at some point in your life and we're together and well, I'm having a family gig, you'll get a chance to try that out. The second dish is a dish called dolma. Dolma comes in. My favorite is a grape leaf wrapped around rice and seasonings and cut up meat and things like that. For the vegans, they won't put the meat in. That's a very popular dish, and even in the United States, in a lot of areas, like people will eat dolma. They'll also put it in bell peppers. They'll put it in onions. They'll put it in cabbage. That's a very, 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 very popular dish. Very, very good dish when you eat it. I pop the grape leaves like popcorn. That's usually how I eat them.
Can you use banana leaves as well?
I don't. My family's never used that.
Okay.
Usually, it's been some kind of vegetable.
Okay.
Um, zucchini is another one that they do, but I usually don't touch the other stuff. I just go with the grape leaves and just pop them in like popcorn, and until I'm full. The third one is a dish called bamia. Bamia is okra.
Okay.
It's rice, tomato sauce, and okra. That dish, when you're really hungry and you really want something that just kind of gives you that taste, whew, that's a good one. There's other ones, but those three are usually ones that just you can, once you smell them, you know right away. You can eat it just off the smell. I got others, but those are probably the three that probably are my go-to. Those are the dishes I grew up eating. I attribute that food to why I believe I'm very healthy. I know genetics plays a big part in it, but I didn't eat macaroni and cheese until I got to college. We didn't eat that kind of stuff growing up. It just wasn't in our culture. It wasn't because we didn't want, or we weren't allowed to eat it. It's just we didn't eat that food. We had
It was,
home
yeah, it
cooked
wasn't in
food.
your pantry. It
Yeah,
wasn't part of the culture.
my mom would every now and then. I don't even remember if it was every month, every 2 months. She'd say, like, you know what, I don't feel like cooking today. Go ahead and get McDonald's or something. I think that was the extent of how that worked out. But
So
we ate very.
so your parents taught their children moderation.
My parents,
Once in a while. Once in a while, you
my
don't
my
stuff.
parents taught me. I guess my parents were never talkers. They didn't sit there and preach or give advice. It was more always in passing, like we would be watching something and there'd be a conversation about it. My parents, I always say this, my parents were if you didn't bother them, they didn't bother you.
Gotcha.
What bothered my parents? Stupidity. So it makes sense why my stupidity meter is so low in terms of people around me, is they didn't like stupid things. They didn't want me to get in trouble. And they say, pay attention in school. Don't worry about working. Pay attention in school. You have plenty of time in your life to go to work. At the time, I didn't know what the hell that meant. Like, I didn't know what they were talking about, right? Because I had friends that were like, yeah, I got to work, and this, and that. And I never had a desire to work in high school because it was taught that, focus on your stuff so you can go to college.
Right. Your
And
academics. Yeah.
yes. And my parents were, they were just good people, I think, deep down, and they knew what mattered. They knew what mattered, and I grew up knowing that if you do things well, you're going to be supported and you're not going to be bothered. That's pretty much how I grew up. Now, it was a little easier for me being in a Middle Eastern family, being the boy. The boys they could get away with murder. Now, my sister had a different story, but I used to tell my sister, I go, I go. At the time, I was like, "Look, you're 5'1", 100 pounds." I go, "The difference between you and I, besides our culture, is that if you walk into an alley, people are going to come towards you. When I
Yes.
walk into an alley, people walk away from me,
Yes.
and that's still to this day. I scare people walking into a room.
Yes.
So if that is going to be a problem, uh, for you, then obviously our parents are going to be very, very cautious. For me, they knew they knew this guy has a little bit more of an advantage due to his appearance. So food, respect, culture, man, we had all that. Respect is a big thing. That was a big thing growing up. Respect. And I didn't want to let my parents down growing up. and that's really how it stayed until they passed away. It was just one of those things where, and I butted heads with my mom. We were both hard headed, uh, but the reality is, my mom, I still haven't really recovered. Really haven't recovered from her being gone. It's almost 20 years now, and my father passed away 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, and it's the only two things that have really devastated me and have continued to devastate me to the point where people thought I was messed up, and I am. I am. I hide it very well. It still bothers me. The scars are deep, and
You're
it,
honest about it.
yeah,
You're
I don't.
honest about it. You're
It,
self-aware enough
it,
to
it, it,
understand.
yeah, death is the only thing that's conquered me. I don't get the
And again, and Joe, like talking about that, that's an immense quote you just said, right? Because like um look, both my parents got sick at the same time. One of them made it and one of them didn't. So I feel exactly where you're coming from. I'll just say this. How many years did you get with your mom?
25.
Okay. Okay. I got 25 with my dad. So we kind of share that common bond there, sir. And I treasure the time we had together because I remember when I was 13 years old, my best friend lost his dad to lung cancer, and his dad was 41, and he had basically only maybe 5, 6, 7 years of memories with his dad. And I think about all the kids who lost a parent very young, and I was very lucky that I got the time I got with them. And I know it's scarring because it's scarring for me as well, but you should always be thankful and grateful for the time you had, Joe, because they raised a hell of a son.
Yeah, it's eh,
You
where
want your you want, like, I'm not a parent, so I can't speak to this, but my friends, my family who are parents, and you would probably say the same thing. You want to leave a better life for your kids than you had, and they
it's
and they did that for you.
I I grew up very, very well. It's only better now, this next generation, because I got the knowledge I needed. Um, I got the knowledge I needed from my parents to learn from what they didn't do, right? So they have a part in what's going on now with my kids without actually being involved. I mean, my kids saw my father before he passed, so that we at least have that. But it just wasn't long enough. My mom, that was the tragedy right there. That's probably what bothers me the most, is the fact that my kids never saw my mother. We didn't see my mom's mom, and that's a tragedy. And that's the part that really bothers me. Of course, if my parents had lasted until their mid 70s, I've said this numerous times. I would have celebrated. I would have celebrated their life, but I never got that chance. I never had a chance to let them grow old with us, with the kids. And that's the part that probably continues to deepen the scar. Uh, I just take it to heart more. I don't know. I asked my aunt, because my aunt was just as devastated as my sister and I when my father passed away, because that was her buddy, man. That was like the last line of the old ways
The
of
old
how they
guard of,
how old
yeah.
guard, yeah. Because even though he was the second born in that family, he's the male, and he was the man when my grandfather passed away. Um,
Being a
and
man and raising a family isn't easy, and it's taken for granted in society today. We don't respect fathers enough. We need to learn that a strong household comes from a strong father.
Well, the father, so we can dive into that very, very easily, at least for me. So
Yes,
I can,
because that's part of our next segment here. So go ahead, Joe.
I admit, I will admit to you that it is not difficult, and I'll tell you why. Because I was born to raise children. Because the most important thing I have that's in me is love. child needs love.
Yes.
The next thing is, I mean, I'm talking love very, very like 100%. And there's not, I can't throw out enough. It's just not, it's not possible, right? The other is protection. And this also coincides with whom you're with. You know, women's issues this last however many decades and centuries and all that. A lot of this, and this is something I'm very adamant about, we have failed as men protecting our females.
Hmm.
Absolutely failed. All these things, all these abuses. Um, just
Yeah,
un-
I saw it a lot. Once upon a time.
I it's an old fashioned mentality, but there's also old fashioned mentalities that
See, when
don't
I
work
hear
either.
yeah, see, Joe, when I hear old fashioned, you know what I think? Tried, tested, and true. That's basically what it is. It's just that's what traditional uh concepts are. They're tried, they're tested, they're true. They're experimented and they work. And yeah, for some reason, I think, you know, men have failed women over the past.
And that's not to kiss someone's rear end. Okay, I'm being dead serious about this. We have not protected our daughters, and we don't do that. What happens is, and this is sometimes a clash in cultures, right? The American culture, there's a lot to admire. It's something that I started understanding very late in my life. The acceptance of a young person, not just a female daughter or whatever, but the acceptance of them living their own life. Like that's the American culture there of allowing their children to have their own lives and not be, you know, to let them do whatever they want, right?
Right,
There
right.
is there's something there to admire, and I'll keep it short right now. We'll continue this at another time, but protection doesn't stop. I don't care
No,
how old you get, okay? And it actually gets worse as the older you get because now most of these issues that have happened are because you know women become women and there's more attention there,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
that's something that needs to be discussed, and we'll discuss that next time.
We will continue that discussion on the next episode, man. We really need to. So with that, it was a great show, Joe. We're hoping for a victory tonight, and we'll see you tonight after the post game on the Lakers Fast Break Network. Goodbye, everybody.